the critical thing is to be able to teach our children to be able to hear God for themselves. And of course, we'll be there to support them, to make sure that they are going in the right direction. God knows how the future is going to look like. Maybe 10 years from now, you need, the skills for a lawyer and the skills for an architect for you to become another position, which we don't know what that will be, or maybe it's already there. And so to say that God knows how the future is looking like. So our part is to, teach our children to be able to hear God for themselves. And when we do that successfully, then we know that God is going to speak to them. And when God speaks to them, and we can judge in righteousness that this child clearly is hearing from God, our part is to be able to encourage them to move forward in that direction. So where can we start if you've not already started, or where can you continue if you've already started to nurture these children or your children to become everything that God has called them to be, to create your home, to be the place where your child is being prepared to be able to take on the world, to be able to walk in their purpose. And so the first one is a simple prayer to God, like Manoah and the wife did. God, what do you want with this child? What do you want us to do? What are the opportunities that you've provided for them, and we need to get them for them? And so that becomes the first step, a simple prayer to God, to ask God to help you, to help your child become everything God ordained them to become. And then we need to spend our time with our children. That becomes very critical. I know life has become so busy. At this point, even as I'm saying that it's been 1 year, it just feels like the other month. Today you start the week, and before you know it, it's the end of the week. We start the year now. We are already done with the first quarter of the year. Time is moving very fast. But even in the busyness of life, we need to be able to have some time. It has to be intentional time that is created for us to be able to spend time with our children. And I know myself included, we say we're spending time with our children and we are on the phone. You're trying to catch up with work, trying to catch up with friends, you're trying to catch up with so many things. But if we can give our children full attention, so that they can be able to express that which is a natural gifting. And when you're in a relaxed place, when you're spending time with your children, you're not rushed, you're not hurried, you start to notice some things that you can be able to see. That's a strength in that child. We need to be able to empower that so that they can become. And then we should try our very best to encourage this purpose, this gifting, this talent, and it can be inexpensive. If your child is called into public ministry, you do not even need to get them enrolled into huge or big programs. You can just start right at home. Simple things that we can be able to do at home. And so you can be able to tell your child, okay, do a sermon for us, or do this speech by a famous person, and you sit there as a family and you listen and you clap for that child. You give that child a platform, you give that gifting a purpose, and that child is encouraged to be able to move forward. And then finally, allow the Holy Spirit to work in and through you, because we do not know the full truth about God's plan for our children, even God's plans for ourselves. You live 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, you're still discovering everything that God has for you. So it is not possible for us to know everything. And so the advantage we have as Christians is that we have the Holy Spirit, and He has promised that He's going to teach us all things, all truth. He's going to show us things that are yet to come. And so if we can rely on the Holy Spirit to help us to know what we are supposed to do today, how we are supposed to prepare tomorrow for our children, and that becomes very critical. And also encouraging our children even as the Holy Spirit is teaching us, encouraging our children, to pick the opportunities that the Lord is going to open for them. Paul says, I think in, 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 23, not everything, everything may be permissible, but not beneficial. And so for you, there are things that, not that it's unrighteousness, it is righteousness, it's the right thing to do, but is it the right thing for your child? And so being very careful that we will be able to follow the instructions that God has given us, even if it is not in fashion. Not everything God will tell us will be in fashion, but he says that his commandments are not grievous. And so we conclude the session with a prayer for all parents. If you can join me as we do the prayer. My prayer for all parents today is that the detailed God that created the universe will give his detailed plan for each of our children so that they walk in their ordained purposes on earth. The God who enabled Manoah and his wife to raise Samson right, the God who enabled Zechariah and Elizabeth to raise John the Baptist right, the God who enabled Joseph and Mary to raise Jesus Christ right, that God will enable us to raise our children right towards a purpose-packed life and make this world a better place. Thank you very much. I hope that our children will be able to walk in their purpose as God has enabled them. Until next time, bye.